All right. Let's see how long it takes Couchbot to fire today. Hope you're doing well wherever you are as I wait for YouTube to percolate through. It's been a it's been an interesting week with the old streaming aspects of this, but I'm absolutely certain we've gotten we're on the backside of that little hiccup. Um, I am still just a little bit apprehensive about pushing too far forward until I see that fire. Um, so once I see Couchbot fire, we will leave the station here. Got a lot of work to go through today. Like um, several, like the feedback loop is full, and there it is, Couchbot, just like boom, automatic. Love it. Chris Courtney here, new Pragmatic. It's so good to be back. We had a brief break yesterday, as the feedback loop was pretty quiet yesterday morning, and then amazingly, like this morning, everybody flooded in. Like, feedback loop is open. Well, let's get all the stuff in, and that's fine. That is completely fine. If when you're ready to work, I'm ready to work with you. So we got Luigi in here. We got Rebecca in here. Welcome back, Rebecca. We've got some questions from Lisa, and I'm going to start with Lisa's questions because she's getting started working on a project with a group of people, and there's always starting a new project when you're new is always interesting. Think about when you first started at a new job, for instance. Um, and I got to be honest with you. I'm working on a side project with some old colleagues of mine right now, people that I've known for 10 years or more, and I'm blessed because I get to build from the ground up. It's like new project. There's no assets for it. It's like ground up, and uh, that's always cool when you're the lead designer and you get to determine, like, you're working with people that are involved, but you get to determine, like, what's the branding, what's the colors, what are the fonts, what's the logo, what's the general information architect, what are the components, like, you get to determine all that stuff. What's already been determined is what you're working on, and who the user is. Like I'm basically receiving research that's been done, and I get to begin working. What's much more difficult is when you're not in that lead role. You're not determining. You're trying to figure out who's doing what. The team is just coming together, and that's a situation Lisa's in right now. She's working on a project where they haven't quite figured out what the project is fully. Um, Tejal, was in a very similar position. This is one of the help with COVID projects, which, by the way, if you're looking for a project and you're not currently overwhelmed with work to do, uh, help with COVID is a definite place that I can say we're 2 for 2 there, finding unique projects for people to work on. But with Lisa's situation, they are basically figuring out, like, okay, how's this thing going to function from a technical perspective, and in many ways, this is drawing data. This is drawing data from multiple sources, and the question is, okay, how does it best serve the user? Who is the user? And there are some assumptions you can begin to build from the moment you begin to talk about, okay, well, who's the user here? And there's a book that I've leaned on quite a bit over the years called Lean UX, and like page 27 gets into this concept of proto personas. And proto personas are a great tool for getting on the same page with your colleagues. Okay, they are. I kind of I always bristle against mentioning proto personas when we're first getting started with students working on their initial research, because proto personas can they can be abused. That's for certain. You can write a proto persona and like, oh, that's the persona, and then off you go, and that's not the idea. The idea is to create a proto persona to see if you are on the same page with your colleagues about which way the boat's going. Okay, so this is a great tool to use as a test to make sure that your minds are all thinking that you're working on the same thing and for the same person, and then you can begin doing research to either knock down those assumptions, correct them, if you will, as you go, or you may find supporting evidence. It's a 50-50 coin flip. There's going to be times where you write a proto persona, and your persona is just assumptions about who you think this person is and what you think they will want to do with your product. Okay, it's a starting point. But the other thing that I was wanting to mention is, as difficult as it is when you're starting a new project, there are people on your team that will have some insight from their prior experiences with things like this. Remember, even if it's the first time you've worked on a project like this, there's a high likelihood that somebody else on the project has done a project like this before, and this is where you're going to lean on experience of the team. And I gotta be honest with you, I had an interview one time where they said, "Yeah, so tell me about your design process." And, of course, I said, the first thing I want to do is I want to get in there and try to do some observational research. I want to get as close to the customer as I can. And they said, well, what happens if you can't get close to the customer? What happens if there's some sort of barrier between you and the customer that you're wanting to talk to? And, you know, my first assumption of those cases is, well, in the past, I've then went and looked at competitors, and I've started doing competitive research to kind of better understand the space. That's certainly what I did when I transitioned from print to mobile, and I started gobbling up everything I could about mobile design and mobile competitors at the time, as far as like the apps that were out there doing the things that we were wanting to do, and that made sense. But there's going to be a lot of times when you're working on things that are NDA related, like there are no competitors. This isn't a consumer experience, it's a B2B, business to business experience where there's no competitors to go research. Everything's behind a locked door. So what do you do then? Well, the answer is you look to the stakeholders who are wanting you to build the thing, and you look to the people on your team who may have experience doing the thing. And you begin asking questions of them. You basically begin interviewing them. And this can be difficult because you're going to have to expose yourself to looking like a newbie. Okay? And that's the thing that we always are scared of. We're always scared to allow ourselves to look like we might not know. Okay? That's the truth, though. In many of these cases, we don't know what the answer is. That's why we're asking the questions. So it's a scary point because you're afraid of being outed for not knowing, but it's exactly the right move. It's the right move. And it's very difficult. It's one of those things you just can't deny. You can't deny that it's the right move. Yes, you can say, I don't necessarily want to do that. I get that. I understand that, all too well. Nobody wants to look like the newbie. However, it's the right move to make in most cases. So, just wanted to start there, as everybody's beginning on their journeys, beginning projects, starting new jobs, things like that. There's a few different ways to get on the same page with your teammates, but situationally, we don't talk a lot about, hey, I'm not building things from the ground up, so how do I sync up? How do I get started? Proto personas and interviewing the people to the left and right of you are great ways to get things underway. You are going to be a little vulnerable in those situations, but it's far better to be vulnerable than to be stuck. All right? And once you get over the vulnerability thing, you're going to be a better designer anyway. Because, to be a designer, to grow, to accept new information, you got to be vulnerable. You got to be vulnerable to your prior position being wrong. That's just the long and the short of it. If you find out new information and it says that your old information was wrong, you're better for it. So let's get to that point. All right. So we got a lot of questions this morning. I'm going to go ahead and jump in. I'm going to share my screen. Hey, I did it right on the first time. Rebecca's in here, and okay, Chris, I hope you're feeling better. You know what? I kind of am. I'm not fixed yet in terms of the thing, which is blowing me away, but sometimes they give you medicine, and medicine makes you feel better. So, and that's where we are. You were doing some writing and Figma work on the CareSite case study, and it says here you brought a mock-up for the CareSite screen, but couldn't figure out how to get the screen inside it properly in Figma. The portfolio doc under a separate page called Mockup plus CareSite. I'll just take a look and see what we can figure out here. I don't know right away what I'm looking at, but your design here. So are these connected? Wow, I don't know what this is. Okay, so it looks like there's a mask on. Well, that's the shadows. I just want to kind of better understand what I'm looking at here. Okay, this is the body, so that's okay, and this is the okay. Alright, so you've got this CareSite case study frame. I get the feeling it wants like an image of the frame. Or it wants you to conform this somehow. Yeah, it looks like this is an image. So yeah, this is where I would probably yeah, okay, so I'm gonna size this down. And again, I've said this time and again, I don't necessarily believe you have to have something that is inside of one of these little presentation doohickeys. No, I don't want to do that. The question is, how do you get it to do the slight distortion at the bottom? I don't want to, I don't want to pull it. I'm not quite sure how to get it to flare out at the bottom like I would like it to. Oh, well, nah, it's not quite doing it, because the moment I do that, it doesn't change. It's not like Photoshop where it begins to to edit the angle of that image. Now I know that, if this was flat, like this thing is bent, so I'd have to look into, I know that how we can get it in there to make it look like it's behind that reflection, which if you can turn that reflection on and off right there. So I know how to get it in there, but it needs, and here's the body, so you basically are sliding that between the two. But the question I have is how do we edit this so that it angles with the, this is a photo. This is a photo in the background. And how do we edit this or distort it? I think there's a Figma plugin. And I'm just gonna copy this and delete that away. That wasn't what I wanted. Here we go. There's a Figma plugin for distortion. I'm gonna go to, and what I want to do is I really just want to open this up and let's see here. I just kind of want to see if yeah, there it is. Okay. Yesterday I burned down, I feel like I burned down the house utilizing Figma inside of a browser, so I'm trying not to do that. Also, I was using Zoom and Figma inside of a browser yesterday, and it just everything crashed. Like my machine just So try not to do that today. Also, we're not using Zoom, so that should be helpful right there. Zoom is a resource hog, and I say that hearing my machine sound like it's an airplane about to take off, so I get it. But let's look over here. So we got this placeholder, and it looks like this is just a frame, right? Oh, it's really just laggy. Really laggy. Sorry, anybody who's watching this. I'm going to shut down these other design systems that I've got open. All right. So this is your design here. And there's the rectangle. And that's basically the shape you've got. And I don't know if you've picking up on what I'm doing here, but I'm just gonna turn that off. I'm basically just dragging this in to the frame and just positioning it via the at the right layer. That's not my biggest problem here. My biggest problem is how do you morph it to do these bends. So for that, I'm going to come over here to the community, and we're going to look for plugins. And in plugins, I want to wrap GraphQL data fill. That's interesting. I haven't seen that yet, so I'm kind of interested in that. Yeah, nothing really came up there. So if we create GIFs with less features. Sorry, I'm distracted now. I'm like, look at all these fun things. Distort. Perspective transformation plugin. Well, that's not good. Okay, we'll install. So it's installed. Let's come back over. And let's see if I can just blow things up. Let's just do this. For this, I'm just going to drag this back off to the side. And now I'm going to pull in that call on that plugin, which we just utilized or just installed. So let's see here. Select the screen. Any 4-point vector shape you want to paste your design. Okay, so I'm going to come back down here to front view. I'm going to go on to placeholder studio. Okay, I'm going to say this one. Let's see what happens here. Did it do the thing? I don't know if it did the thing. I don't see the anticipated change that I was thinking I was going to see. Like I don't think that did anything. Let's try that again. It's possible that I did something wrong. Also, of note, is the placeholder anything but a square? Ever so slightly. Is our image anything but a square now? No, it's still a square. So I'm going to take this down. Oh, that wasn't what I was looking for. Take this down in size. And actually what I want to do, I think I spotted the issue. Or spotted something close to the issue. Either way, it's helpful. So this is a frame. And you've got this placeholder studio. Okay, it's an image. Fair. So let's do this again. Let's fire up mockup. Mockup wants me to select the thing. Okay, so I've selected where I want this to go. We're just going to see how it works. And now it's going to say, okay, select a frame or component. These are all different aspects of your design. Would probably be easier if you, okay, and now we're going to hit apply. Would be easier if you had only the things that you're wanting to, like if you put this on a new frame. Okay, so there it did it, but you should be able to see the problem right away. It's distorted. It's like squished, and my question is, yeah, it did the slight like flare out, but the problem is this is too deep right now. So to really get this to work, you're going to want to edit the depth of this to match the height of the screen that you're going into. And, you know, because I guarantee you that you should be able to, you know, so mock-up is the way to go. Because it will take it and go, oh, you just need to, like, flare it out and do the transform. And that's fine. But what you don't want to do is you don't want to get into this situation where it's squishing it down. So this tool will work, but you're going to have to do some prior editing on this image to make it the right height. And once you have that sorted out, then you can use the mockup plugin to make this work. Okay, so so that's how I would handle that. And again, I'm sorry it takes forever for Figma to run sometimes. I wanted to write some text under project overview that tells a bit about why this project was important to me as a designer and person. I'm not happy with it though. Would love some feedback on how to make it better. All right, so waiting for the assets to load. Oh man. Maybe it's just the sheer size of this thing. I don't know. All right, so yeah, you're working on that. And again, I've said this a few times. I don't believe that you have to go in and have these sorts of displays to make me believe that you worked on the thing. That said, so the most important part of the project for me was helping to make healthcare workers tools easier to use, thereby thereby their work environment less stressful. These people work around the clock for the good of humanity, making sure we live healthier lives. Um, so, project overview. The goal, the goal was to make the lives of the goal was to make healthcare worker tools easier to use. The benefit was that in the benefit it so the goal was to make healthcare worker tools easier to use. Period. If successful, the benefit is their work environment becomes less stressful. These people work around the clock for the good of humanity, making sure we live healthier lives. It was a, it was a, so I think it would flip this. So the goal was to make healthcare worker tools easier to use. Period. Healthcare workers work around the clock for the good of humanity, making sure we live healthier lives. The benefit is that the benefit to making these tools easier to use is to make their work environment less stressful. Um, and then you could, if you want to add something in there like, and this is a benefit to patients or whatever, this benefits us all. I think that's fine. So project atmosphere and challenges. I was called in to work on this agency. Okay, so we've talked about this. Yeah, yeah. I like this. But I think just a little massaging on that overview, and you're good to go. So, oh, and you're kind of looking at some different options up here, and I think that's fine. Let's go back over here and see what else you've got here. Love some feedback on the height and weight of the typography to use under screenshots and images like this one. Also feedback on the content in this specific example. I'm just gonna have to go look for that one. It's so small on the. Let's see here. Oh, okay. So the real question here is, okay, so this is 12, and this is 18. For this, I would suggest 14 at minimum. I really do think anything that's getting down into the 12, like 12 is something that I would use for, like if I needed to like put a small label on something or a small caption, I think 12 is okay. Um, but like when we're getting down to 12, you don't want anything in a lot of like a paragraph of text. 14 is as small as I would go there. Um, so that's the long and short of it. I wouldn't go to 12, which is like that's what you had. And I realize when I zoom in on it, it feels good. It feels good. But when we look at it at actual width on the screen, um, and part of this is because this A18 is so big. Like I don't necessarily think this needs to be at 18 either. There needs to be a little bit of give and take here, and just shrinking this down isn't the only option that you have at your fingertips here. If we sorry, you could also come in, highlight that, go italic. You can make it italic at 14, and then you could still bring this down to 16. And now you've got, and I think the medium is a bit much. And what else? Yeah, we should hide this grid so we can actually see what we're working on. That has a lot more nuance to it in my opinion, than a moment ago we were at like medium 12, and you know this isn't terrible, but again, it's a lot, and again, we're not looking at it at the right size. Um, I will say that the one benefit you have with Montserrat is it's such a like the font has such a footprint that at 12 it's not as bad as if it was like Roboto. So if I change this to Roboto, you can see just how small that gets. But I still prefer 14 in any of these, and I think Montserrat. Again, I love using italics with Montserrat. So that's just me, and that's kind of that's the tweaks that I would make here. I'd probably try to pull in an italic, let it go at 14, and then keep my body at 16. So there's some difference there. And what is this, like 24? Yeah. So that's like a very nice mix there. Where 12, like 18's too big, 12's too small, but 14 and 16 are too close. So now I want to look for some other way to separate them, and that's where the italic comes from. Okay. Um, and if we look at this and we go, oh hey, what about? Oh, and that's quicksand. Weird. Wait, is that quicksand? No, that's Montserrat. Okay. This is also where I would just say, let's get some textiles in here. I see labels new in bio, but I don't see a robust usage of styles. I would encourage, like, you've been working on this file for a while. I really think that by now you know what your styles are, and right now I'm seeing like this mix of like quicksand and Montserrat. Like, let's get some styles in here and just start consistently using those. Additionally, you should have some components in here by now. You've been building long enough. You know what your design is. If you have any questions, watch the component video that we released recently. And I've got a design systems video coming out shortly, as well as you'll be seeing more of me talk about this project. Roboto pajamas will be forthcoming for all of you soon. Okay, let's jump over to, I think let's see, do we have any more Rebecca? Oh, I just got the spinning wheel of death. I hope that we're still broadcasting. Yeah, I think we're fine here. Okay. So I'm going to close that one. Close that one. Let's see. Luigi! Alright. So Luigi's got a few things he's working on. Okay, again, Luigi, I'm gonna hope. I don't know why this isn't just opening in Figma. It's like Figma's brain broke or something. Let's go ahead and head over to, and I do not want to open up Robo Pajamas right now. I just want Figma. So there's circuit. Where am I recently viewed? Oh, recent. That's Rebecca. Yeah, you would totally think that. Oh, there it is. So here comes Luigi, coming in hot. Welcome back, Luigi. So we've looked at part one of Luigi's feedback before. Luigi was really following the states of that I outlined, and really, when I created this, it was like, how can we simplify what material design throws at you? Material, and I differ with material design in certain ways, because I do think that, like, some of the oh, it's going to be a 10% overlay or it's an 8% overlay, and if it's on dark, it's 16%. Like I don't think it is enough from an accessibility perspective. I don't think you see the change. I go I go more heavier tones. Okay, um, but again, there's nothing wrong with either of them actually. But let's see here. We've covered this part um, last time, but I do want to just kind of go through. So you're going to underline, you're going to highlight, you're going to switch to a darker. Yeah, we kind of had this discussion like following. If you follow the material guidelines, like this is in the right direction. But I prefer things that are much more like, okay, this is like a link. This is a link that I am on. This is like click. Like there's something visceral. I can't. There's no confusion. Like this one has an underline. This one has a box. This one is a light green. This one is a dark green. Like this, like just not. There's not enough change. Now the blur. I have problems with the blur because like it doesn't really feel like anything has happened. But we've talked, we've talked through all of that. That's why we're up here. We come over here. It's the same basic thing. And what we discussed here was, okay, so like we're gonna underline these. Um, you know, here are the different options. Like when something's selected, it gets a glow or it gets a gray. So there are some options here. I think really what we're looking for is you know we have this button and this button. I would like to see some streamlining. Like okay, so you've got the black, that's great. These secondary buttons, it's not like they should go to black because black is already here. Um, like, do they go to a gray? Do they go to a color? What happens to the black on click? These are all questions that we want to sort out as we're moving forward. And this is why I'm most interested in jumping down. I know we have part 3 here. So part 2, we're looking at. So this is empty state. So when this part of the exercise is presented, it's basically like, oh, nothing here. Not even those grids. So you're getting it in a blank state. I'm just going to hide the grids for a second. Okay, so this says choose an option to build a research cohort of your own. So you can create a form or you can import participants. These feel like big buttons. So the question is, from a feedback perspective, Luigi, what happens when I'm just going to select this whole button here, okay? Like if I said, oh, I want to create a form, like what happens on click to this? So it's got like a stroke. Does it go darker, and then this interior part? Does this go? Oh, sorry, that didn't work very well. And does this like go white? Sorry, I'm gonna take the stroke off of that because it's just I'll just hide it. On like, so if I click on this, does that happen? Does the fill go red? Like, I don't know. Like when I'm interested, I see the button. What happens when I click it? How do I know I clicked it? So you've got the right idea here. What is it like? So you've solved for the empty state. I know what's here. The move forward I want to know is what happens when I click one of these things. That's not exactly clear. And Eve was working through this a week or so ago, and her problem was they were let's just imagine that, and she had a different design, but it was both were looked like they were selected, like both were black or both were gray. Like right now, it looks like both are present, but neither are selected. So what happens when we trigger one of these? Okay, that's the consideration when you're thinking about like, okay, I've solved for the empty state. Now, how do I give somebody feedback that they've actually started the process once they, like, what is that? If I hover over them, do they glow? Do they hover? Like, what happens? Okay, and this is the question that when you're working with the developer, they're going to ask you. Oh, okay. I see you got an empty state. That's cool. So what happened? What happened? What happens to this button thing? Does it just like? Is it like if I get anywhere near it, like if I hover over the words, does this change color? Like they're gonna have those questions. Okay, so I need you to have a response for that when you get to that point. All right, option 3, the confirmation. Confirmation obviously is a situation where you are going to you're going to get either a notification before or a notification after. And this is something we cover in the writing for this. When I do a destructive action, I want somebody to like throw something in front of me to make sure that I know what I'm doing before I do the thing. And on the other side, if I say, oh yes, I want to purchase said thing, or I want to sign up for said event, I that's a create. I've created something. I'm not destroying something. I'm saying yes, I want this thing. Then I want confirmation after the fact. Okay, just to confirm that like my request has been received. So with that said, so when if the order is placed, what happens next? So we've got this, and I click place my order. What happens next? Okay, so we received your order. Okay, and so now they're getting an order confirmation, and it's giving them order number and says your order is sent. Confirmation of your order is sent to this email address, and that all makes sense. Okay, order total. So like this bottom part changed. It just like shows you the total, shows you what was ordered, and that works great. And I like the fact that you've got that you like continued the breadcrumbs, so I can kind of see like shipping info, payment info, placed order, order confirmation. And in case you're wondering why I'm so like, how do you complete the order? Ask Katie. Katie's working on that whole payment processing like flow right now. Okay, she's wireframing things out. She's been working through it. So this is where she's at. Okay. So this is canceled order. If the order is canceled, what happens next? So I go cancel my order. All right. This is where if I went through and I accidentally cancel my order, and that happens. I've done it. I've done it on concert tickets at a really bad moment, and then you go back and you try to get the seats, and it's like, oh, those are gone. And I'm like, oh. Not that we go to concerts anymore. Luigi, I just want to make that perfectly clear. It's not like we were ever going to see one another in person again. I'm kidding. We will 2022. But when I make a destructive action, I want some sort of pop-up that says, hey, are you sure you want to do this? I'm not looking for a confirmation. If you want to give me a confirmation after you've asked me if I'm sure I want to do it, that's fine. But Here, I'm looking for that notification before I blow up the cart, or I say that I don't want the tickets, or I cancel my flight. I want that. Are you sure? And that's not meant to, like, sometimes the language in those boxes that are you sure? They feel like comfort shaming. Are you sure you want to miss out on such a great deal? Like, I don't want that. I'm just simply looking, think about the GitHub example that I showed you, in the chapter. GitHub is so, like, type in the name of the repo you said you want it to delete before you can actually delete it. Are you sure you? And then once you do that, it's like, are you sure you want to delete said repo? Um, because it's wanting to protect you. It's a protective mechanism. So this is where I want, like, an alert, a pop up, a something that stops me. I need something that requires additional. If I hit cancel order, it doesn't just cancel it. So there's a screen that I need that's between these two. All right. What happens next actually is probably a pop up that says, "Hey, is this really what you want to do?" All right. So I'll leave some notes on this, but we definitely need some to push this further. Here, it's just like, okay, what happens next? I don't know if it turns red. I don't know if it turns gray. I don't know. But as a developer, if I'm coming in working with you on this, because I'm not expecting designers to build everything they dream up. Okay, that's otherwise there'd be no developers. Um, but if you're collaborating with somebody, you need to have that, like, okay, here's the screen. Great, got it. Okay, what happens when I click this thing? That's the next obvious question. Always be thinking about at least one question ahead. Like, if I show them this, what are they going to ask? And if you can think about what that answer is, fix that. Okay? Or make that notation, or whatever it is that you need to do to communicate forward what that obvious question is. All right? And if there's 2 or 3 obvious questions hanging out, I want you to address all 3. But, there is a line. It's like, I don't know what happens past that. I thought I'd have to talk to you about that. And that's fine too. I do want to check Discord, because I've been ranting for a good hour now. We got more feedback, Loopy. Ooh, Tegel. Tegel's in. Tegel's sneaking in there at the end. I like that. All right, so let's. Luigi's actually got a couple more things. We're not done with Luigi yet. We're just not done. So Luigi's applying for some gigs, and this is one of the reasons why I went to the mentorship route instead of the, and we're going to talk about interface design, and we're going to talk about mentorship, or we're going to talk about UX design. The mentorship route allows us to just talk about whatever it is. Luigi's in the middle of the COVID thing. COVID, like, nuked lots of jobs. All right. So we're shifting between interface and application. And that's why I love the mentorship model. We just go wherever you need to go. So here, it's a product designer role. So, dear Mr. and Mrs., you may or may not know who it is that you're applying to. Attention betterment team might be where you're stuck. So just know that if you get stuck, it's team betterment, or address them as an organization and make it sound like it's a positive thing. I'm thrilled to apply for the product design position at Betterment. I'm truly passionate about the financial services industry. I'm excited by the role technology plays in innovation and increased access to financial and Uh, so I'm excited by the role technology plays in innovation and increased access to financial products that improve people's lives, and its ability to increase access to financial products that improve people's lives. This combination is what drew me to your company. Um, so your team both in yeah, that semicolon there is kind of throwing me off. Your team both embraces change and continues to shape the industry at large. So I think I would reorder this a bit. I'm thrilled to apply for the product designer position at Betterment. Um, I'm I'm truly passionate about the financial services industry. Um, the team at Betterment. Um, hmm. I think I would actually move. So yeah, you're thrilled to apply for this designer position, but I would move this down. Um, you're also starting with I'm. I've got like three I'ms in there. It's like your dog food company Ims. Um, not that you're a dog food company, but you get the idea. Ims is a dog food company, and now that I have three of Ims, I was able to make a joke. Ha! Got you. Um, I'm excited by the role that technology plays. Um, incre- I think that the trick here is innovation allows increased access to financial products, or technological innovation allows increased access to financial products that improve people's lives. That's what drew me to your company as the Betterment team. I would say as Betterment appears to both embrace change and continue to shape the industry at large. Um, I'm truly passionate about the financial services industry and support the growth and mm, uh, yeah, but it's like I want to come technological innovation and increases access to financial products that improve people's lives. Um, uh, that's what drew me to Betterment. Um, as it That's what drew me to your company as Betterment both embraces change and continues to shape the industry at large. Um, and then I would come back to this. I'm truly passionate because I want you talking about like you understand the space. You feel like that's a positive for Betterment, and then like and I'm really passionate about all this. The past few years have been building my design career after making a major career shift. Prior to becoming a graphic designer, um, my experience included working. Prior to becoming a designer, my experience included. Um, my experience allowed me to work in. Prior to becoming a designer, I worked in economic development, where I created public-private partnerships and where I created public-private partnerships and managed financial incentive programs to retain and attract growing businesses. Um, okay, since becoming a designer, um, since the trend, since I transitioned into design, um, I've remained okay. So I've remained committed to growing to growing my skills as a designer. Um, since my since the transition into design, I've remained I've remained steadfast, or I've steadily invested in improving my skills. Recently, recently completing a UX design program to provide me with a more to provide me with a formal foundation um, to successfully build a career in the field. So this, like, what I want to keep away from is this idea that, you know, a lot of us a lot of us do design programs after we actually start designing. Okay, and it discounts the fact that you actually were designing before you did the program. Like, there was some UX work, there were some things that you've nibbled around at informally. I mean, I did informal UX work, I did informal mobile work. You know, I've done mobile design for, you know, 12, 13 years now. And I ever go through any formal education for it? Was there a mobile design course I could have taken in 2007, 2008? No. I just kind of figured it out because we were all just figuring it out. Um, so I wouldn't discount the I would say the UX program provided a formal foundation. Okay, and that leaves some room out there for, oh, you were doing this, and you want to have a conversation around it. Yeah, I was doing that sort of thing, but I wasn't sure if I was doing it right. Okay, and I think that aligns with this idea that, hey, I'm investing in my skills. That's a positive. Nobody should be down on you for that. So a lot of people, the place where a boot camp gets a negative connotation is, yeah, now, and I switched, and now I was a graphic designer, now I'm a UX designer. No, you're a designer, and you've added these UX, you've formalized your foundation in UX skills. That's the same but different. Okay, it's saying that, yeah, I was doing this before, but I didn't have that formal floor underneath me that said, okay, I'm doing it right. I appreciate the opportunity to apply for this position. I think you'll find my background and experience. My I think you'll find the combination of my background and I think you'll find my unique combination of professional background and current and uh, I think you'll find a designer. I think, um, oh gosh, I think you'll find my background and experience. I think you'll find my background and experience would be a tremendous asset to Betterment. I think. I don't think. First of all, I believe. I believe my background and experience would be a tremendous asset to Betterment. I have attached my resume, included my link to my design portfolio. Thank you very much for your consideration. So there's some, like, all the way through this, there's some, like, nipping and tucking that I would do. I encourage you to, like, watch and rewatch the last 10 minutes of this, because I think it's going to, there's not an overhaul. You've got all the right parts here. It's just the massaging of the parts. The massaging. Notice I dropped the G on that. This is massaging with an apostrophe. All right, the I-N. All right. Let's look over here. Luigi's got his experience, and boy, if you want to look at an experience, an about page that took an overhaul, Lisa, like, just popped right out of the gate with it. Ooh, hers is so good, so good. Lisa, I just gotta brag on you. I just gotta brag. There have been 3 common threads that have weaved throughout my professional career, these threads have been consistent. These have been consistent from my first job. These threads. So let's just go with that. Have been consistent from my first job as an aide to governor to the governor, hell bent on making an impact, to my recent role as junior art director, building my design career in New York City. I think you want to talk about like what governor, like to the Connecticut governor, to Governor Cuomo, like you're up there in New England, and I think that it matters. Like when you say like immediately, I'm thinking, oh, you got New York City in here. You must be talking about Governor Cuomo. You could be talking about a totally different governor. I don't necessarily know that the specific governor matters so much as the state. So, starting my career in the public sector taught me that service is at the core of everything I do. Problems to solve are not mine. The solutions to create are for others. Decisions made will impact people, family, communities. I learned. I would say service starts with caring about others. Like I learned that. Like service starts with caring about others. You must care about others to be interested in their problems and needs. And this is why go back to the UX thing. This is your core of UX. Okay? And I don't know if like there's something that you use to point out that I've been doing UX for years in creating in solving problems that were not mine and creating solutions for others as an aide to the governor of Connecticut. I believe I'm remembering that right. I learned that service is about caring for others. I learned to use it like there's something so powerful in that, and we got to get to it because I think it's your linchpin. Okay, you want to be able to say, I've been doing user experience far longer than I've been doing graphic design. I started my UX journey as an aide to the governor of Connecticut, where I was focused on solving problems that were not mine and creating solutions that benefited the people, families, and communities that I served. All right, that's a UX designer. That's what a UX designer does. Okay, you want to be able to trace back, and that's where it started. Now that was not formal UX design. Okay, you were doing it with a different role. It had a different title, but that's UX. That's why you're here. That's why you're doing this. Like, yeah, you're good at the graphic design thing. Okay, and frankly, a lot of people are. What a lot of people aren't good at is saying, "Oh, I want to solve problems that aren't mine." Okay, most people want to solve their problems, and that's where the two roads diverge. Yeah, but we gotta get in there and like this can be tightened. But I would say I would definitely encourage you to like talk about this as this is service design. This is UX design. My my pathway into UX design actually began as a aide to the governor of Connecticut. Caring will allow you to listen and ask the right questions so that you can understand people. Through understanding, you can come to an informed place that makes decisions and make decisions that serve people's actual needs rather than what you thought their needs were. These lessons made me more empathetic and increased my emotional intelligence. I also carry them into my role as a designer. Um, Design is an act of service aimed at providing a solution to someone else's problem. Cannot think of a better way. Um, yeah, it's weird. It's like these two. You know, I don't know if those sentences are necessary. I think it's like the lessons learned in the lessons learned in the governor's office made me more empathetic and increased my emotional intelligence. I cannot think of a better way to prepare my uh, to prepare me for a career in design. There was no better way um, to prepare me for a career in design than that job in public service. Like like put a pin on it. Like this was the way to start. I didn't realize it at the time, but that job showed me what I really wanted to do. I really wanted to help people, and I really wanted to solve problems, and you know, my career in design started in public service. That's great. That last line is great. I think it's the two lines in front of it get in the way. They get in the way of you saying my career in design started in public service. Period. Okay? That's the best thing here. So like tweak that. The second thread that's been a constant throughout my career is teamwork. The strongest exhibition of teamwork is my recent experience as a graphic designer at an experimental agency. I collaborated with creative strategy and count themes daily to adapt to shifting priorities, meet deadlines, stay within budgets, and move each project forward. Communication and building relationships across teams was essential to serving clients and doing work we were proud of. I learned to be willing to go above and beyond to get the job done, and to put us into the best position for success. Being in a fast-paced, diverse team, working toward a common goal is an incredible experience that helped me succeed. That will help me succeed in future, moving forward. I don't think you have to say in any design role. I just think you just say it'll help me succeed moving forward. This teamwork thing. My final thread is learning. I've been intellectually curious and loved to learn since I was a kid. Learning has allowed me to take a non-linear career path. Um, I've been intellectually curious. I've been intellectually curious since I was a kid, and learning has allowed me. Like I'm just trying to get rid of the learning. I've been intellectually curious since I was a kid, and learning has allowed me to take a non-linear career path. Period. So like, we're getting rid of one of the curiosities, we're getting rid of one of the learnings, we're just kind of tightening those two together. It enabled me to do things that I thought were impactful, interesting, and exciting. My continued commitment to learning has taken me from a career in public and nonprofit sectors to development to to the through the development of a design career that I'm truly passionate about. It's also the reason why I'm building my skills in UX and shifting into that field at each state. I think this is where I kind of try to merge the two ideas back together. It's also a reason why I continue my push into UX design, where I combine my love for solving problems of others with my it's like there's something there. I don't know. Don't do that yet. Or if you've got something where you can bring the two together, I think that's great here. At each stage of my career, I've displayed a commitment to learning and set new goals. It is made me adaptable and resilient, and and has allowed me to approach new challenges and opportunities with a learning mindset and positive attitude. I think that this is really good. I think this is really good. I think that it allows you to talk. This is allowing you to talk about your career. The public service thing is never going to make your portfolio. Okay, but I think it's so crucial. Um, I also like to name names. I also like to name names. If there's somebody on your journey, um, that played a big role, like I you know Mike Helms, Shannon Seifert, Phil Spiker, uh, Jane Hurt, Clint Schmidt. I can just roll them off, like the people who had an impact, Dronha, that you know that helped me continue to shift and grow as a designer. They might not have been designers. Maybe they were just people that put you in a position to make that move. They put you in a position to, like, name them here. And that's the thing that a lot of people are. I don't know why, but we don't give enough. It's interesting. It's not like we're trying to not give credit, but it's like we want to keep the focus on us. And I think the best way to keep the focus on you is to kind of talk about the people that you've surrounded yourself with through the years. Like, who are these people? Like, the people I rattled off, like, they're in all disparate parts of the world, and they don't occupy the same industries. And I think it's to my benefit. I think to your benefit would be, who'd you work with in Connecticut? Who'd you work with at this last place that really had an impact? Because while there were teams, while there were projects, there were also individuals involved. So I would encourage you to weave a couple of those in here. Those are basically your references. Okay? You want to know who my references are? Look at who I talk about who shaped my career. Okay? So I think it's pretty good. I'd make a couple of adjustments. But overall, I think we've done the whole thing. Okay. Let's shoot over to so I got to go over to Discord, and there's a couple of things in here now. Okay. So here's Tejal. She's working on version 4. Best way to put 5 pages of copy that is easy to find. I'm designing an FAQ page. All right. So let's take a peek at the FAQ page that Tejal's working on, and then we're going to wrap it up because I've gone really long this morning. Sorry about that. Ooh, this is kind of fun. So, all right, so we got like this feels like it's like an accordion thing. Ooh, she's got a design system in progress. I like it. So I'm guessing like I'm gonna click one of these, and like it's gonna expand down. I'm guessing, Tejal. So So there's a couple things that and you've seen it here. It's like, what happens to this? Font size is 24. What happens to this when it goes long? I think what I would ask is that none of these questions are longer than 3 lines. I do like the fact that you've kept this in alignment with the first one. After testing, I don't necessarily think you need a search bar up top, because right now, it's just these, before testing, testing centers, how testing works, after testing. If you had a deeper repository of questions, like you couldn't show them all, like it's all just like they're on different pages, or use our search bar. I think that's where the search bar comes in. But when they're all like in accordion form, I think it's fine to just say, hey, you know what? Scroll down and see how this works. How does COVID testing work? in the United States. Availability of testing varies. On this page, we'll be sharing some basic information. So before testing, testing centers, how testing works. You know, yeah, I think you've got the right things. Um, the question here becomes, I think if this gets longer, and it will, you add search. But this is that, we talk about, and Tedral, I know that you didn't go through the UX program, but there is where we do this sprints. Okay, sprint 1. This is sprint 1. Okay, sprint 1. We're gonna have our 13 questions. This is the 13 questions. Okay, and they're all gonna be loaded on the page, and it's just gonna be accordions that springbox in and out, in and out. I would make it to where if you have one of these expanded, the moment that you click on another one, the other one collapses down. Okay. The V2 of this would be, okay, so for V2 we're gonna add search. Okay, because the V2 is we're anticipating that if it gets longer than this, that it's going to become a bit unwieldy. And maybe that's where, instead of before testing, testing centers, how testing works, and after testing, it becomes truly frequently asked questions, in that maybe you stack rank the 5 or 6 that show up for everybody, here at the top. So you'd have search our database of FAQ questions, or view the most frequently asked. So it's an MFAQ. But I would do this, and I wouldn't start with search, because I don't think you have enough to need search, and this may be as long as it gets. How silly would it be to build search if it's really just 13 questions? Just scan the page. Like Google wouldn't have built search if there were 13 web pages. What would have been the point? So I don't necessarily think you have to have search, but I would have a V2 of this that says, okay, we're going to do search, and here's what that experience is going to be like. Okay? All right, ladies and gentlemen. Surprise, surprise. We made it. Can you believe that? I can't believe it. I can't even believe that how does this work? I don't know. I don't know how this works. Hey! We made it. All right. That's been a super long feedback loop. I hope that I did not bore you to friggin' tears. We're going to be back, and we're going to do it again tomorrow. Be Friday. It's a Good Friday. But it's not Good Friday, because Good Friday was last Friday. This would be like Best Friday. Or Awesome Friday. Whatever it be, it'll be Quarantine Friday. So until then, I know I got meetings with a few of you today, so be looking out for that. Otherwise, I'm Chris Courtney. This has been the Feedback Loop for Thursday,